They called it the Bitter Sea, a patch of ocean so acidic that the air itself tasted of pennies and blood. Captain Ironside was a man obsessed with durability. He didn't want a ship of wood, he wanted a fortress of steel. He found the heart of oxidation in a sunken laboratory of an ancient alchemist. He believed it would fuse his fleet into an unbreakable, eternal legion, Noona Balsa. As his ship, the Iron Duke, entered the red mist of the abyss, the hull didn't strengthen. It began to bleed, not blood, but thick, orange flakes of iron rot. The heart didn't create strength. It simply accelerated the inevitable end of all things made by man. It started with the heavy cannons. Overnight, the black iron turned a brilliant, dusty orange, crumbling at the touch of a finger. Then, the plague reached the crew. Their skin didn't rot like flesh. It hardened and cracked into brittle plates of rusted metal. When they moved, you could hear the agonizing sound of grinding gears and snapping iron. Their eyes turned a dull, matte copper, losing the spark of life. We weren't dying. We were being fossilized in a state of terminal decay. The Iron Duke was no longer a ship. It was a floating wound, shedding its metallic skin into the hungry, acidic waves. The transformation was a symphony of screeching metal. Ironside watched as his masts, once towering pillars of strength, became hollow, pitted shells of rust. When the wind blew, it didn't fill the sails. It tore through them like paper, carrying away clouds of fine orange dust. The iron chains fused to the men's limbs, becoming part of their very skeletons. We were being hollowed out by the very element we trusted. A violent, dry, and suffocating oxidation that turned every breath into a lungful of iron filings. The harder we fought, the faster we fell apart. From the depths of the red tide rose the sentinel of rust, a titan formed from the accumulated shipwrecks of 1,000 years, held together by magnetic fields and ancient rot. It was a shifting mountain of jagged edges and screeching joints. It didn't roar. It emitted a high-pitched, metallic scream that shattered the brittle bones of the crew. It watched as Ironside reached for the heart, his hand already a claw of rusted needles. The sentinel wasn't an attacker. It was a scavenger, waiting for the exact moment we would finally disintegrate into the salty silt. When a fleet of privateers tried to scavenge our wreck, they met a storm of orange death. The Iron Duke didn't fire iron balls. Its cannons, now just hollow tubes of rust, unleashed clouds of concentrated corrosive dust. Anyone who breathed it felt their blood turn to thick sludge and their bones to heavy iron ore. We watched as the enemy ships simply fell apart, their bolts snapping and their hulls turning to powder in seconds. We were a ghost of a fortress, a cloud of rusted memories moving through the red mist, destroying everything we touched. The ocean floor beneath us became a graveyard of iron. Hundreds of vessels from every era lay there, fused into a single jagged reef of oxidation. Ironside walked across the crumbling deck, his footsteps leaving permanent orange stains. He could see through the murky teal water thousands of skeletons encased in rusted iron barnacles, their swords fused to their hands. He realized then that he wasn't the master of a fleet, but the caretaker of a museum of ruin, an empire of dust that the tide would eventually wash away. The sky above the abyss was no longer blue. It was filled with a thick, oily orange aurora that pulsed with the ship's decaying energy. The sun was a heatless copper disk, barely visible through the metallic haze. The heart of oxidation demanded a final sacrifice, the last of our organic life. The crew stood on deck like statues, their lungs filled with iron, their hearts barely ticking like rusted clocks. Morvine realized that to rule this world of metal, he had to let the rust reach his very soul. He embraced the corrosion, letting the orange rot fill his eyes until the world was nothing but a blur of rust. The ship began to sink, but it didn't fall like a stone. It disintegrated as it descended, trailing a cloud of orange silt like a dying star. We passed through layers of ancient, rusted machinery and the skeletons of metallic leviathans. Each fathom was heavier, the pressure of the sea trying to crush our brittle frames. We reached the core of the abyss, a place of pure, magnetic force. Here, the rust didn't just consume, it became the very foundation of the Earth. We weren't at the bottom of the sea, we were part of the planet's rusted heart. Ironside sat on a throne of fused rusted cutlasses, his eyes twin pools of dull copper. He was the sovereign of decay, the king of a realm where everything is temporary and nothing is solid.